latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
The conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Bea Diaz Fabros. In tonight's Game Plan, we'll check in with PLDT's new recruits, towering middle blocker Del Palomata and defensive gem Kath Arado.
We'll also catch up with Chris De Chavez to talk about the Lakers' big win over the Brooklyn Nets and the return of one Anthony Davis. And we'll go inside the game with our lone Filipino Olympian in the Beijing Winter Olympics, Asa Miller, for the alpine skiing category. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. The PLDT high-speed hitters definitely got a loot in the recent recruitment haul between PVL teams. Building up their defense in front of the net, PLDT acquired national team pool middle blocker Del Palomata, and while making sure no ball drops, the squad also enlisted five-star floor general libero Kath Arado. Tonight, Del and Kath join us here on the game to share their excitement to be part of the high-speed hitters. Kath, Del, kamusta naman kayo?
Hello po. Okay naman po.
It's great to have you here. And just to be sure, kasi kanina nahihirapan tayo sa connection ni Del. So, just in case she can't hear us, hi Del. Hopefully okay ka.
Okay na po.
Okay na.
Okay na to yung audio.
Unang-una, Del, ba't mo napili yung PLD? You had a choice to move on. Siyempre, you had to move on kasi nag-LOA yung Santa Lucia. Ba't mo piniling PLDT?
Napili ko po yung PLDT because of coaching staff na rin po. Kasi po, naging mapalad din po ako na maging coaching staff ko sila sa national team din. Sa mga teammates ko rin po sa PLDT. For ano po, kasi naging iba-iba po kaming team. Mas iidihan po namin na mag-gel kasi po first time na iba pong syempre ibang PLDT na po yung ngayon po.
Ikaw naman, Kath, ba't PLDT yung choice mo?
Sa akin naman po, personally, kasi po, yung mga teammates ko dito sa PLDT, nakasama ko na po halos lahat before sa mga previous team ko. So, sa akin, malaking ano yun. Sa akin kasi po, parang hindi na ganun kalaki yung adjustment namin. Kasi magkakakilala na kami.
Okay, so
I think mga coaches para namin
all right. So Kath, we lost you a bit there in the last portion, but let's go first to you, Del, no? So kasama ka sa national team po last year at nakalaro ka nga sa Asian Women's Volleyball Cup. Pero as per reports this year, sinasabi nila na ang national team ay magiging comprised of solely PVL players. So kung last year kasama mo mga collegiate players din, ngayon PVL players na lang. So, gaano ka ka-excited dito dahil mas magiging mataas ang tsansa, no, na ang mga former teammates mo at mga current teammates mo, baka maging teammates mo din sa national team? Del?
Siyempre po, naging part na rin po ng national team. Siguro po mas mas iigihan ko pa. Then syempre hindi kami masyadong nag-gel pa. Kailangan pa namin mag-gel as a team sa new PVL ngayon. And new team po ngayon namin.
Kath, this is another move para sa iyo. In fact, medyo siguro sanay ka na moving from one team to another, going to new situations. Syempre, may konting familiarity. Sinabi mo nga, may mga reunion dyan, dito sa PLDT. Pero going to yung situation na to, gaano ka ka-excited sa potential ng grupo na to? Kasi nag-revamp yung PLDT with the hopes of competing for a title. Sa palagay mo ba, nandun yung tamang timpla going into the next conference?
Actually po, ngayon sa team ng PLDT kasi mostly halos lahat po talaga kami bago. 4 lang po yung, natira na sa team dati last year. So, malaking adjustment pa rin po kahit magkakakilala na kami. Kasi siyempre, yung sistema na tinuturo ng mga coaches sa'min, hindi naman po pare-parehas. So, kailangan ma-adapt namin para iisa lang yung sistema na gustong i-adapt ng mga coaches sa'min. Pero at the same time, kahit papaano po, hindi na gano'n kalaki yung adjustment namin kasi yun nga po magkakakilala kami, alam namin kung paano yung laro ng isa't isa. Kailangan lang talaga namin is yung parang, yung sistema na gusto ng coaches na i-apply talaga namin sa training pa lang para sa game. Yun yung sinasabi ng mga coaches na para sa game, ano na lang, onting adjustment na lang kasi nagagawa namin siya sa training. Pero yun nga po, sa nakikita ko naman po sa mga teammates ko is porsigido talaga sila. So, malaking bagay yun para ma-polish pa namin yung chemistry namin as a team.
Okay, so Kat, sinasabi mo na konti na lang yung magiging adjustment period mo, no? Dahil madami na yung naging teammates mo noon sa team dito sa PLDT. Pero para sa'yo naman, Del, sinabi mo kanina na naging coach mo na si Coach George Pascua sa national team pool. Tapos, magiging teammates mo nga ulit, diba? Si Wendy Semana, tapos makakasama mo pa din ang mga teammates mo nung Santa Lucia, si Jovi Prado, pati si Mika Reyes. Para sa'yo din ba, feeling mo magiging maliit na lang ang adjustment na kailangan mo gawin para dito sa PLDT team?
Para po sa akin is malaki pa rin po yung adjustment kasi po sa Ate Wendy matagal na rin po kami hindi nagsasama sa isang team, tapos po kailangan pa po namin mag-practice pa. Then sa kila Joby tsaka si Mika po, syempre nagkasama naman kami sa Santa Lucia. At syempre po, nagtutulungan naman po kami. So, tingin ko po is, malaki din yun yung adjustment. Tapos, kailangan pa namin may more practice pa po.
So may konting lag yung connection ni Del and I want to take advantage of that muna eh. Kat, na-excite ka ba nung nalaman mo na magiging teammate mo si Del? Actually, si Catherine, nag-lag rin yata eh. Oo.
Ay, ibalik na lang natin. Oh. Ayun. She can hear us.
Okay. Hindi, na-excite ka ba na magiging teammate mo si Del? At syempre, amongst your teammates right now, sino mga hindi mo nakasama dati that you're excited to work with for the very first time?
Unang-una po si Ate Del. Kasi, syempre po, kasi nung nakalaban ko po siya last year sa PBL, nung Santa Lucia, as in, nakakatakot talaga. Nakakatakot siya kasi sobrang tangkad niya. So, crucial yung sa akin na part na libero kasi yung hardball ng quicker na mga middle blocker, nasa akin talaga. As in, pag tumatalo na si Ate Del, so hindi ko na, parang, syempre, yung height difference nila ng mga middle blocker namin sa Petrogas before. Medyo kahit papaano mas height advantage talaga si Ate Del. So maiibabawa niya talaga yung mga blocker. So yun yung thankful ako kasi teammate ko siya. At least kahit papaano hindi na ganoon kahirap yung kalaban na part. Kasi feeling ko talaga kung siya yung kalaban ko, kailangan ko na lang dumapa sa court para at least magba-bounce na lang yung bola sa akin.
Alam mo, Kat, Del, thank you very much for joining us here. Sana next time live naman yung usapan natin para wala naman lag, 'di ba? Oo, pero sa ngayon, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck muna sa PLDT. We can't wait to see you back on the court and hopefully yung next natin na kwentuhan live na, face to face na tayo. Sige, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so after the break, We'll break down the Los Angeles Lakers topping the Brooklyn Nets and the King LeBron James closing in on another record. Stay tuned. You're watching the game. Hello to everyone watching over on Facebook Live. That was the PLDT High Speed Hitters new recruits, Catarado and Del Palomata. See, both of them with a bit of a connection issue going into that interview. Pero syempre, sana next time, live naman tayo lahat para wala nang lag. And you know what? That's also, iba rin yung kwentuhan, iba rin yung energy kapag ano
Yes,
eh,
definitely. Pag
kapag
live.
live eh.
Mhm.
Oo, Bea, feeling ko talaga mapapaaway tayo at one point during the show eh kung magkasama ulit tayo. And
Oo nga
but
eh. Ang daming
mhm.
kwento ni Pao.
So let's not talk about that. Of course.
Bawal, bawal daw, bawal.
Up next, we have Chris De Chavez of PBA 3x3's Platinum Karaoke joining us all the way from New Jersey. And
Yeah.
we're gonna ask him about his team, the Brooklyn Nets, who still has his loyalty after moving from Jersey to Brooklyn, and we'll have that in just a bit. Welcome back to the game. I'm Paulo Del Rosario. Let's head on over to the Barclays Center for some NBA action between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets. Looking at the numbers here, the Los Angeles Lakers take a big win over the Brooklyn Nets, 106-96. Now even at 24-24 are the Lakers. Brooklyn fall at 29-18. LeBron James, big numbers for him, 33 points, 7 rebounds and 6 assists. James Harden matched his point total and almost doubled his rebounds and assists, but unfortunately unable to get the win. He was all alone there. If you notice, no KD. Patty Mills was the second producer there. Now joining us to break down the game and all the storylines currently surrounding the Lakers and the Nets. PBA 3x3 Platinum Karaoke's Chris De Chavez joining us all the way from New Jersey. Chris, welcome back to the game. And I see you're ready to travel. So thank you for taking the time to join us here.
Hi, Pa. Hi, Bea. Thanks for having
Hi,
me.
Chris. Good evening.
All right, Chris, first of all, you're a solid Brooklyn Nets fan ever since the New Jersey days, but you're also a fan of LeBron. So how do you feel about this game in particular between the Lakers and the Nets?
It's just a great matchup. You got LeBron playing KD, James Harden, Kyrie. So, every time those two teams play, it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Chris, actually, we want to talk about LeBron James. Now, speaking of him, he's actually currently just 104 points away from actually beating the all-time scoring record, which is currently being held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What does that say about the legacy that LeBron James is currently creating of himself here in the NBA?
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that was about to happen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that definitely is going to solidify his legacy. He's already, even before that, he's already one of the greatest players of all time. So, he's definitely a GOAT in my books. So, that'll definitely just solidify everything.
Just so you know, we were having a hard time saying this next line. He is on pace to become the first ever triple quintuple player in NBA history.
Wow.
With at least 10,000 points, rebounds, and assists. Of course, talking about the game just a while ago, so Anthony Davis finally made his return for the Los Angeles Lakers. A bit of a quiet night, but that was okay against a Nets team that was, not fully healthy either. But then if the Lakers get Anthony Davis back, and despite all the drama surrounding the Lakers right now, do you think that they could get on a run and become contenders in the West?
I mean, they could definitely be contenders. Whenever LeBron's in the team, you could definitely go somewhere. And AD, LeBron, but right now they're struggling a little bit, but hopefully they can pick it up with AD back.
Okay, so going on from the Lakers and AD, Chris, let's now move on to the Nets because in
Mhm.
the Nets, actually, James Harden did not sign his extension contract last October, and he's been saying it a bit that he actually wants to move to the Sixers. What do you feel about this? About James Harden possibly replacing Ben Simmons in the Sixers?
that, that's kind
That
of
says
I
it
funny.
know
all.
you're a Nets fan, but what do you have to say about that?
I mean, I don't think that should be a fair trade. I mean, Ben Simmons is great. You know, he's a great all around player, but they need some scorers. You know, everyone knows. You know, the like he's not really a great shooter, but he could definitely get around the basket. But you know, we'll see what happens. But hopefully, James Harden gets to stay in the Nets.
Looking at there's the rumors are there for James Harden, and there's a chance that if he does stay and he doesn't resign, Brooklyn will lose him for nothing. Now let's pretend that you're GM right now,
Yeah.
knowing that that is a possibility. As a Nets fan, would you rather see Harden move for this season and hopefully get something in return, or will you risk it just because James Harden's someone that it's okay if you just have him for a season?
I mean, if you're talking long term, I mean, it's definitely that it's definitely better that he moves. It's better to lose him and gain Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons is still a great player. For me, I'd rather have a scorer than another passer on the team. But it's better to have Ben Simmons than nothing.
Okay, so well, of course, as a Nets fan, we do want we do want the beard to stay with the Nets. But given their standing position now, they're currently third in the Eastern Conference, despite losing to the Lakers. What do you think? How far do you think that the Nets will go out here in the postseason run? Do you think that they can win it all, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, in my opinion, I think they could win it all. You
Mhm.
know, they have KD, they have Kyrie, and I think those are two of the most prolific scorers in the league. But of course, they have to get through Giannis and the Bulls. But I think KD is the best player in the world. So hopefully, I mean, with him on the team, anything could happen.
Yeah, hard to argue that, Chris. Hey, thanks again for taking time to join us here. I know that you have a flight to catch
Yeah.
and out to see your daughter. So, regards to your daughter and the rest of your family.
Thank you.
Hope you
Thank
stay
you.
safe out there. And we hope to talk to you again soon. Hopefully, with the Nets doing a lot better and maybe taking down the Lakers a peg as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Stay safe.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so let's now move on from the NBA to FIBA basketball. As we all know, the Philippines will be the proud host of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup, and Pinoy fans will get first dibs to secure their passes for the games of the Gilas Filipinas men's team. Starting March 1st of this year, limited passes will be available with early bird pricing through FIBA's official website until the end of March. Head on over to the official FIBA website to get more info on the Follow My Team Pass for the Philippines.
Now, when we return, we'll go inside the game with our lone Philippine Olympian in the Beijing Winter Olympics, Asa Miller for the alpine skiing category. Keep it here, you're watching the game.
That was, of course, Chris De Chavez talking about the Brooklyn Nets and a bit about the LA Lakers. Obviously, I had to take a little dig on the Lakers, Bea, because our writer, Ken,
Ken
he
is a
only
Lakers
has.
fan, just like me, Pao.
Oh, yeah, I know you're a Lakers fan too, but at least you admit that you can't defend them. Uh, sometimes
That's true.
it's okay. My Jazz are doing terrible too, so that's karma for you. But yeah, look, it was great to hear about the Brooklyn Nets, how well they're doing. LeBron on the cusp of another milestone, and Bay up next. We have the lone representative for the Philippines in
Oh,
the
yeah,
Beijing
very
Olympics.
exciting.
Yep, alpine skiing category. Asa Miller coming right up. Of course, Asa still very young. We only have one representative this time. We actually don't have a lot of a long history of sending multiple Winter Olympians, or at least more than two or three. So hopefully this time around, this is the start of good things in terms of our winter
Yeah,
sports with the sports
definitely.
programs. I've seen a few of our figure skaters, so hopefully the development is there. So when we return, Asa Miller on the show.
Welcome back to the game. After a successful stint for the Philippines in the recent Tokyo Olympics, hopes run high for our nation in the sports world. This time around, we will be represented by one sole athlete, Asa Miller, who will be competing in the alpine skiing category in the upcoming Beijing Olympics this February 4 to 20. Our very own Billy Capistrano sits down with Asa Miller in this latest edition of Inside the Game.
Tonight on Inside the Game, we have Asa Miller, the lone Philippine athlete competing in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. Hello, Asa, and welcome to the game.
Hi, everybody.
So now, Asa, you're representing the country in alpine skiing, and this is actually your second time to do so. So congratulations on that. But let's backtrack a little bit. What was your initial reaction, or what was going through your head when you found out that you qualified for the Winter Olympics again?
Yeah, I was super excited. I knew beforehand that I would be able to make qualifications, given that I did it 4 years ago when I was 17. And so it was a bit of a relief saying, okay, we got this out of the way. Now I have time to prepare and just focus on other things while I knew my qualification was already done.
I could just imagine what an amazing moment that must have been for you. Now, can you walk us through some of the preparations you've been doing for this year's Winter Olympics?
Yeah, so I ski 5 days a week. I also go to the gym to go lift and work out. I did some mental preparation stuff a little bit ago, just working on my mental game for competing my best on race day, since ski racing is a very high stakes sport. And so those are just some of the things that I did to focus before this winter.
So how different is your training this time around compared to your first Winter Olympics in 2018 when you were just 17 years old? I was telling you a while ago, you do not age. You still look 17. Well, I mean, especially now because we are in the middle of pandemic, and I know that you're competing in two events this year, the slalom and the giant slalom.
Yeah, honestly, my training didn't change a whole lot. I did take 2 years off of school after competing in 2018 to focus on ski racing, where I developed my technique and some of my experience there. And then since I began college, and then for the actual skiing itself, it's an outdoor sport. We're very lucky that COVID didn't affect it too heavily. And so all things resumed pretty normally. It was just standard training 5 days a week.
But as I was saying, for the two events that you're competing in this year, is there a difference in training between the two?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so there is a pretty big difference. Well, it's just two different events. So one day you'll go train GS, and the other day you'll go train slalom. You're on completely different skis, and it's a slightly different motion. So depending on the day, there's a different focus.
Now we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into things. Can you talk to us about some of the challenges that you experienced throughout your journey to the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics?
Yeah. So ski racing is a really, really challenging sport where the smallest mistakes can mean that you get nothing out of the day, or that you just traveled 5 hours and it turned out to be a complete waste of time and money. So I've certainly learned a lot about how to deal with pressure and how to perform my best when I need to. And so those were some of the biggest things. And then dealing with failure when things didn't work out. And so I've definitely learned some different skills over the years to help ease myself and feel like I'm ready to compete on that day.
So do you think that you've definitely matured so much more than in 2018 when you first competed in the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, I think the maturity thing is a huge aspect. I've had 4 years to get experience under my belt and feel a whole lot of success and a whole lot of downs and figure out where I need to be successful more often.
So what do you think you're going to do differently this time around?
I think I'm not going to feel the pressure as much. It'll be my second time on a big world stage. And so I'm not as stressed out about being in front of a whole lot of people and knowing that they're watching. And so I think I'm gonna be able to put all that aside and just ski how I can, and hopefully it'll be enough.
Now, Asa, how does it feel like to be bannering a sport that is unorthodox in the Philippines? You were talking about it a while ago off air. I mean, we are a tropical country, and unfortunately, skiing isn't really something that a lot of Filipinos are familiar with, just because not everybody here has the opportunity to actually experience it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty unreal because skiing is kind of my way of expression, and it's what I do, and I'm really, really grateful to be able to share that and represent the Philippines while doing it. So while a bunch of people can't, it's my form of art in a way, and I'm really happy that I get to share that with a bunch of people and hopefully create more exposure so more people hopefully get the opportunity in the future, where they decide this is something I want to try now that I've seen it. And so I hope to inspire others doing it.
Definitely, because I really think that skiing is an amazing sport, and you do it so well as well. I mean, hello. Now, lastly, Asa, the country recently just had its winningest Olympics yet. Our athletes did an amazing job representing the country. How does this motivate you to do the same in Beijing next month?
Yeah, watching Hidilyn Diaz's gold medal was hugely motivating. While I don't expect myself to go quite the same distance, it does push me to do better, and I really want to make the country proud as well. So it's hugely motivating, and that's an amazing feat, and I hope to be able to follow it up.
And before we let you go, Asa, do you have a message to all the Filipinos who are so excited to watch you in the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's following my journey now. It means the world to me. So many kind messages I've been getting and reading, and it really does mean the world, even though it's a weird sport and not a whole lot of people know about it. The support means a lot, and I can't wait to go represent. So thank you guys.
And you know what? Just the very last one. If you could say something about skiing, why people should follow it, what would it be?
That's a hard question when we think about it. I'd say skiing is a really interesting form of self-expression and interacting with the mountain and your environment. So while it is the same act of just going down the snow, which is something interesting in itself, there's so many different styles you can bring to it and different ways you can approach it. And I think that's what makes it really, really fun, is that every day is different and you make the best out of every single day that way.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Asa. It was a pleasure talking to you, and good luck in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. We cannot wait to watch you kill it on the slopes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for joining us as well. I'm Billy Capistrano for The Game.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Bea Daes Fabros.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo De Rosario, and this has been The Game.